to set the rules. Very well. We have decided to take responsibility for ourselves.
In a stunning act of defiance against despair, Burkina Faso has delivered 50,000 brand new homes completely free to citizens uprooted by years of violence. This isn't just housing, it's a radical reimagining of nation building. While most governments in crisis focus on weapons or flashy projects, Captain Ibrahim Traoré chose something far more profound, restoring dignity to a people stripped of hope. The project began not with grand speeches, but with the quiet determination of workers laying bricks in forgotten lands. These neighborhoods, complete with schools, clinics, and green spaces, are more than shelter. They're a declaration. You belong here. For a country ravaged by insurgency, where entire villages vanished into dust, this is a psychological revolution. Traoré, a soldier who walked among the displaced, understood that winning the war meant first winning back trust. No rent, no debt, no empty promises, just keys to a future many had stopped dreaming of. In a region where aid often means temporary tents, Burkina Faso is building permanence, one free home at a time. In a masterstroke of self-reliance, Burkina Faso didn't just build houses, it built futures. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's government turned displaced citizens into nation builders, employing local laborers, masons, and electricians to construct 50,000 free homes entirely with Burkinabe hands and materials. This wasn't charity, it was empowerment. As families moved in, something remarkable happened. Violence declined in surrounding areas, and militia recruitment dropped. A home, it turned out, was the first defense against despair. But Traoré didn't stop there. The construction crews who built the houses became the foundation of a new economy. Welders formed cooperatives, carpenters launched workshops, and women who cooked for workers started catering businesses, all backed by state grants and zero-interest loans. Vocational training spread to rural areas, offering tools instead of empty promises to youth vulnerable to extremist recruitment. This was more than reconstruction. It was a quiet economic revolution, proving that the best solutions aren't imported, but grown from the soil up. The message was clear. Burkina Faso's revival would be built by Burkinabe hands. One home, one job, one community at a time. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's vision for Burkina Faso didn't stop at housing. It dug deeper into the very soil of national sovereignty. After jump-starting the economy through local procurement policies that revived Burkina businesses, a harsh truth emerged. A nation rebuilding homes and jobs still kneels before foreign food imports. Rice, bread, even the fertilizers nurturing crops, all came from beyond its borders, leaving the country one supply chain crisis away from hunger. Traoré's response? A farming revolution. Farmlands became battlefields in the war for self-sufficiency, with seeds as ammunition and farmers as soldiers. This wasn't a return to subsistence agriculture, but a strategic, large-scale overhaul, modern, tech-driven, and fiercely local. Solar-powered irrigation, training programs for young farmers, and state-backed cooperatives turned fallow fields into thriving food factories. The goal? To sever the colonial-era chains tying Burkina Faso's meals to foreign ports. As wheat and rice began sprouting from once abandoned soil, the message was clear. True independence isn't just built with bricks or jobs, but with full stomachs and homegrown harvests. Traoré's revolution had moved from houses to farms, and now the nation was finally feeding itself. Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't just rebuild Burkina Faso, he rerouted it. With solar-powered irrigation reviving abandoned fields and land reforms empowering women farmers, what began as a food security mission became an economic revolution. The government didn't just distribute seeds, it built a complete ecosystem. Cooperatives with modern tools, processing plants for cash crops like cashews and cotton, and military logistics delivering fertilizer instead of fighting militants. The results were staggering. Rice imports slashed, grain yields soaring, and GDP growth hitting 5%. But Traoré's genius lay in the details. Land titles gave farmers ownership, school meals featured local harvests, and every sack of homegrown grain carried the weight of national pride. Yet as fields flourished, a new battle emerged, one for control of Burkina Faso's gold and minerals. Having reclaimed their soil, the Burkinabe now prepared to reclaim their wealth, proving true independence grows not just from the land, but from the courage to defend it. For decades, Burkina Faso's gold flowed out while its people stayed poor, until Captain Ibrahim Traoré declared enough. Beneath the success of housing and farming revolutions simmered an ugly truth. Foreign companies were strip mining the nation's wealth, leaving behind environmental ruin and pennies in royalties. Traoré's response was bold and systematic. Secret audits of shady contracts, seizure of $80 million in gold reserves, and construction of Africa's most revolutionary weapon, a state-owned gold refinery. No longer would raw ore be shipped to Europe only to return as overpriced jewelry. Now Burkinabe hands would refine it. Burkinabe businesses would profit from it, and mining communities would finally see clinics and electricity built from their sweat. Informal miners became legal cooperatives, insurgent-controlled pits became secured job sites, and colonial-era contracts were rewritten with one non-negotiable term: Burkina Faso comes first. This wasn't just economic policy, it was the final stage of a sovereignty revolution, turning the ultimate symbol of African exploitation into an engine of national power. The gold that once funded others' empires would now build Burkina Faso's future. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré tightened Burkina Faso's control over its gold, Western powers cried resource nationalism. But across Africa, leaders took notes. Mali, Niger, Guinea, and Chad watched as this small nation transformed from a resource warehouse into a sovereign state, refining its own minerals, rewriting colonial contracts, and building industries. Then came the geopolitical earthquake. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger's dramatic exit from ECOWAS in January 2024 wasn't just a protest. It was the birth of a new Sahel alliance built on military cooperation, shared airspace, and an uncompromising vision of true independence. Traoré's revolution had reached its most dangerous phase. By rejecting the West's aid-for-control model, he wasn't just rebuilding Burkina Faso, he was dismantling an entire system of dependence. The new Sahel coalition, coordinating military operations and intelligence sharing, became a defensive wall against foreign interference. No more unauthorized drone strikes, no more exploitative mining deals, no more bases masquerading as partnerships. As the West watched nervously, Traoré's gaze turned not to IMF boardrooms, but to a future where African resources serve African people first. The message was clear. The era of client states is over. Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't just reject Western dominance, he rewrote the rules of engagement. As sanctions loomed and aid dried up, Burkina Faso turned east, securing military and technological partnerships with Russia, Turkey, and Iran. But this wasn't a surrender to new overlords, it was a strategic diversification. Traoré's message rang clear: no more patrons, only partners. The West responded with predictable fury, warnings, sanctions, and smear campaigns. But inside Burkina Faso, something extraordinary happened. Farmers, students, and soldiers rallied behind a shared mission: control their land, their wealth, their future. For the first time in decades, a nation once dictated by colonial blueprints was charting its own course. The question now isn't just whether Traoré's revolution will last, it's how many other African nations will follow suit. Want more untold stories of Black resilience and sovereignty? Subscribe and hit the bell. We're uncovering the glory the world tries to erase.